traveling through the city of Ibadan, just north of Lagos. Stunning, beautiful city, beautiful place, everything well developed, huge factories. Look at these freeways, it's crazy, very nice. Myself and my 4 compatriots, we're going to the city of Ile Ife, which I discovered talking to a co-worker of mine, Jacob, who's from the Yoruba tribe. The noise, the company gave us the patrol vehicle, and thanks to Mr. Aresh and Mr. Karan for making this possible, and Mr. Arun for his concern. Make sure the security is taken care of and everything goes smoothly. But there's a really nice, I mean, geez, this place is look at this. It's a beautiful city. In any case, back to Ile Ife. So I discovered the city of Ile Ife that's been the center of the West African religion, in a sense. Their very particular Yoruba religion, their center. And the city of Ile Ife is on par with Mecca and with Jerusalem and with Rome as centers of faith. The city itself, I immediately started reading a book by Jacob Olupando, Professor Jacob Olupando from Harvard Divinity School, and he wrote an unbelievable, fascinating book, The City of 201 Gods, Ile Ife in Time, Space and Imagination. The city's been inhabited, well, the city proper exists since around 1080 AD. The location's been, there's been temples and shrines built since 10 BC. The Europeans thought that because of the quality of the artistry coming out of the area, the clay pots and the figure, the heads the statues that they made there, the West thought that there's no way that this could be an Africa city, and they thought it was a colony of Greeks who created the city and created the artwork. They just could not fathom this. So unbelievable history. Some of the mythology of the religion says that this was where human beings first saw the first daybreak. It's just beautiful, amazing. And there's been great excavations done there. I can't wait to get there and to get immersed in the culture and learn a lot there. Okay, now, what the hell am I doing there? Why do we undertake this trip, which in former times, in the old days, it was years before Europeans even made it to the city. But the legend of the city existed for long ago. I mean, the influence of the city is massive in the region. Yoruba land, as it's called, is huge. And look at the sheep here on the side. In any case, the kings of Benin, for example, are buried in Ile Ife. In Nigeria, when a new king in Benin is appointed, they seek the blessing from the city of Ile Ife. The king himself is the representation of God on earth, and he's got then the human and God characteristics, and he represents God on earth in their system, similar to the Pope in a sense. And so the fact that this developed system of faith exists in West Africa is just unbelievable, and to this depth it's impacted the Caribbean nations and the Americans through the slave trade. Famously, there's scenes from Calypso in Pirates of the Caribbean is styled after some of the divination practices of the Yoruba religion, and and the Westerners never thought this level of thought possible from Africa. So to travel there is just absolutely a highlight. Now, the interesting feature of going to Ile Ife for somebody in the meat industry is that I started to become interested in after reading Jacob Olupando's book and seeing his methodology of doing research, and I'm addicted to his method of his methodology now. I love it, and I'm trying to apply this, and this is the first little field excursion where I hope to learn more. Basically the thinking is that right, we're 43 kilos from Ife. What is the approach that I want to follow? Let's this is the thing. I want to look at the relationship between humans and the slaughtering of animals. Of course, we slaughter animals to eat the animal, right? But it's not so. That is not the sum total of the complete relationship between us. There's the element of sacrifice as well. And bear with me. I'm gonna look at sacrifice, why we sacrifice, and everything that I say, there's a question mark, of course, behind it. Is that right? Are there more to this? And so it all plays into, it's like a concertina, back to, well, the reason why I'm doing this trip is to learn and to understand more. So this is connection with the sacrifice of animals, but also, funny enough, the sacrifice of humans. They go hand in hand. And then from there, I'm going to go to nutrition. You won't believe it, but it actually all plays in, the one follows on the other one. Okay, so bear with me. Let's look at sacrifice first. So the first interesting reason why I think animal sacrifice took place was because of currency. Leo Frubrides, in Voices of Africa, a book written in 1913, one of the great works on West Africa, and a lot of, apart from his obvious racism in the book, there's a lot that we need to thank him for in terms of what he wrote down and chronicled about Africa, and I will in my work refer a lot to that, and spending a lot of time reading his work at night, and he talks about a currency where a god may demand, if you want something from the god, that the deity may ask a higher price depending on what it is that you want. And one of the things that the deity may demand is an animal sacrifice, and then obviously the more difficult, the bigger the thing that you ask, the more difficult will become what you ask. So that translates into the next level of, so obviously you can sacrifice a snail, or you can sacrifice a lamb, you can sacrifice a goat, or you can sacrifice a small bull, or you can sacrifice your prize bull, going up in value obviously, and then the next step will be sacrificing a human, and the next step will be sacrificing a king, for example. And Leo describes in Voices of Africa an incident just like that very well. So that's the currency reason, I think, for animal sacrifice, and also you can see why animal sacrifice then spills over into human sacrifice. I think it was done basically for the same reason. If you understand the one, you understand the other. The second interesting reason is the appeasement of the god. It's got somewhat a similar type of thing. If the society did something wrong and the deity is now angry and they need to be appeased, the more, the bigger the thing is that they need to be appeased of, the more urgent or the more it's just, we're getting our exact road here. We took a little bit of a shortcut on the way to Ile Ife. So in any case, obviously the higher the price will be for that. The other interesting one is something from Judaism, but that is, it's maybe a Christian perspective. I'll have to see if it's a Judaic perspective, and that is the taking away of the sins, iniquity. Also got something to do with appeasement, similar in thought, but in the Judeo-Christian tradition, the appeasement's got to do with the removal of the sins, and so the sacrifices of the animal is done basically to appease God. You put your hand on the head of the animal, you transfer your sin into the animal, he is killed on your behalf, the deity is appeased. And even there, interesting enough, is a spill over into human sacrifice, whether we like it or not. In the Christian tradition, at least, well, possibly even in the Judaic tradition, but definitely the Christian tradition, where the death of Jesus Christ is, you know, if you look at it in a clinical analysis, it is a human sacrifice. So it is similar that the unblemished sheep in this instance is a human being. Yes, a God, in the Christian traditions is God as well, but human as well, fully God, fully human, and so a human sacrifice is required to appease the gods. Very interesting. So there's this tight relationship between animal and human sacrifice in most of these traditions, including the Christian tradition. So I'll conclude with that, and then we look at in the next section that I'll do, the link between all of this and nutrition. There's a link.